Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business leaders to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today I'm very lucky to be joined by Cody Fisher of Surgence. How's it going, Cody?
Doing great, Shiv. How are you?
I'm great. I'm really happy to have you on here. And Cody, just to start this off, I'd love to just understand a little bit more about your background, a little bit more about Surgence.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to start. First and foremost, happy to be here as well. Always love talking innovation, digital, data, analytics, everything in between. Background for me personally is I actually started my career in banking, background in finance, and transitioned from banking into the healthcare industry, working for another supplier and distributor on the international side of the business. So I like to say I cut my teeth early to learning how different parts of the world do supply chain and procure product differently. And then made my way to Concordance Healthcare Solutions in a finance leadership role, coming up on 8 years, which I
Wow.
think anytime we talk about career in the last 5 years, we're like, yeah, it's 8 years, but there's 2 or 3 years there that count as like some amplifier with COVID. But finance capacity at Concordance and then transition my way through strategy and most recently leading our initiative and our business around Surgence and really trying to transform the healthcare supply chain from a digital and data perspective, not just the physical supply chain perspective.
Awesome. And so for those who don't know, what is it that Surgence does?
Yeah, great question. Great question. And I'll keep it simple and throw a bunch of questions my way. The spirit of Surgence, or in the spirit of Surgence and at the vision layer, we really are on this journey to bring the manufacturers, the distributors, and the providers throughout the supply chain into one agnostic digital platform. And then on that platform sits applications. Literally think of like your iPhone or your smartphone for Android users, by the way. I just transitioned to Team Apple in the last couple of years. But think of your smartphone, think of applications, and on this platform sits applications that are rooted in solving some of the most difficult challenges within each segment as well as across. Really unlocking the data itself, but also then taking that data to action and that data to decision is really at our core in solving some of those kind of long since systemic healthcare supply chain challenges.
Wow. And so okay. I had on my phone, I created a wallpaper a long time ago. I like to create my own wallpapers. That way, it's always something that I look at.
Yeah.
This was last year, maybe 2 years ago. I created a wallpaper that said, "The only way out is through." That was like my motto.
Yeah.
Now, and that's why I love having you on here. And that's obviously your guys's, that's how you do business. Can you tell me the story behind that? Why that's a part of Surgence's?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll keep it relatively short, but it is something we're so passionate about and maybe without saying it in every customer meeting, every industry event, it's really at the spirit of who we are. It was a quick background through the trials of COVID that really obviously wreaked havoc throughout not just the supply chain, really how we deliver care in the United States and globally. We found a lot of symbolism into the only way out is through, and that is really coming from the spirit of be the bison. So for anybody that doesn't know the story around bison, when bison or buffalo, depending on what region of the world you're from, those animals when they're embarking on a storm, instead of turning away from the storm, they knowingly actually turn toward the storm and turn toward the storm together, and they'd go right through it because the fastest way through the storm is to go right through it. The symbolism there with COVID of there was no running away from it. The best way was to face it, to really understand the challenges that we're facing as the healthcare supply chain, and then the extra layer of to get through it together, to get through it as a unified supply chain, really just embodies that kind of that bison, be the bison approach. The only way out is through. And that's how we see current state healthcare supply chain. We see challenges that still wreak havoc on all segments. Some are systemic, some are new, some are higher than they've ever been before. And more than anything, we think there's a level of unpredictability that's really challenging the space today. So our belief is that the healthcare supply chain can innovate and we can call it healthcare supply chain 2.0 level up.
Right.
The best way to get there is not as single organizations, but to really rally around a solution and go into the storm together to come out a
Wow.
better supply chain on the other side. So hopefully that's short, but some of our spirit comes through, our passion comes through. But yeah, we really believe that the best way to get to the new version of supply chain is to do it together and to do it with the thought
Yeah.
leaders that we have today.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And your passion definitely comes through. And I never knew that about Bison. That was really interesting.
Yeah, it honestly, we stumbled across it as a team. I go back to the COVID days, and it's, I think at certain points you're trying to reach for any glimmer of hope, look
Yeah.
for like the light at the end of the tunnel. It's, hey, you know what? This is pretty cool. Let's rally around being a bison. They're pretty tough animals. We can do this. It just grew, right? And what's so interesting is we've actually found several of our customers without knowing it 5 years ago, 4 years ago now. They literally rallied around the same concept, which
No
is
way.
amazing. Yeah.
That's great. Wow.
Yeah.
So when you guys were developing your platform, you partnered with a consulting firm to assess your value
Mhm.
proposition through customer insights and market testing. And so what did you learn about your initial assessment? And if there was anything that, surprised you that you found
Yeah.
out then and now, and maybe what's changed from those learnings?
Yeah, great question. And I'll give it actually a little bit of context to even why we embarked on that assessment. It really wasn't just to validate our vision and to understand market fit and really what are some of those true supply chain challenges that organizations want to solve. But ultimately, why we went with a third party is because we have a lot of very strong relationships in the supply chain and we didn't want our friends telling us what they think we wanted to hear. We wanted the honest truth, right? We wanted hey, does the vision of really unifying the supply chain, does it matter to you? These challenges that we're looking at solving, how much do they matter to you? And we felt like we'd get more of a unbiased response if our friends weren't telling us whether it's a good idea or not. With that stage a little bit set, a couple things that I'll say were really positive, but maybe a little bit surprising in a great way was almost every segment of the supply chain actually wants to solve almost the identical problem.
Ah,
So when it comes to, I wish I just had visibility to fill in the blank,
mm,
right? The blank is actually largely the same or rooted in the same issue. What was surprising to me in some ways is, albeit maybe for a different reason or different business intentions, the supply chain was much closer than I think it gave itself credit for. And obviously in commercial contracts and relationships, it feels, hey, we might be on different sides of the pillar, if you will, or different sides of the fence. But when it comes to wishing there was a better supply chain and thinking about what that better would look like, all segments are so much more aligned than they are different. So that
yeah.
was initially something that, again, was maybe validating in a lot of ways, but it was also surprising, right? We expected more kind of tension and different ideals of what priorities should be, and largely they're just about the same. So that was early on. And then maybe more recently, what we've started to see is, as much as data and visibility to data or sharing data was initially like it makes me feel really uncomfortable type of moment. Data is power, data is king, like data is mine
Yeah.
type of thing. Recently, we've seen organizations very much enable themselves to take a different view, and we've seen that really come through more organically when we're actually working with organizations across the supply chain to solve a specific thing. So if you play that back, instead of saying, hey, let's think about how we could bring visibility and what we would do with it, it's more, let's solve this thing, and this is the data and this is the visibility we need to solve it. So it
Mm.
allowed, I think, organizations to really come at it with a narrower scope
Yeah.
versus, oh, I'm being asked to open up everything. That's scary. We play in the conversations, both facilitator, collaborator, as well as maybe like break glass when needed. But it's been awesome. And a lot of surprises have came recently of, I'm going to say, those mini 4 minute miles for a lot of organizations where prove it can be done. And once done, the ideas just start flowing and the what next moments are created.
Yeah, yeah. A couple things there. First off, that's so amazing of you to specifically say, "Hey, we don't want to just be told what we want to hear." I
Mm,
feel like that's such a big thing. It's in the startup world,
yeah.
especially. Is
Yeah.
hey, we need. It's very alluring to do that, I would say. And so you guys
Absolutely.
you're after going after a really good product. And the other thing I'm hearing is that simple scales. Once you actually do the research, you find that people really want the same thing. And so when if you actually take the time to do the research, it means that you can build a better product that people truly want. And I think that is really cool of you guys to do because, and I know I'm speaking a lot to the startup world, but I think there's some good parallels here because I think a lot of times what happens in that world is, or anytime somebody's trying to build a platform, is they try to just build the platform first and not listen to the to what the market really needs.
Absolutely.
You guys did it the right way.
Thank you. No, I totally agree. I think it's very natural, especially in the world of digital, especially in the world of automation or AI, to be a company or a product that's looking for a problem to solve. That is it's a real thing. Like we have this awesome technology, we have this awesome ideal. Okay, now we just need to find the right problem to solve. We felt very confident that we knew the problems to solve, but we really wanted to check that box and make sure that those problems were also validated as not only problems, but true priorities that needed to be solved in the supply chain.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so your solution is uniquely positioned as the only platform that's actually built by the supply chain and for the supply chain. And so what key features differentiate your platform from competitors and deliver tangible benefits to your users?
Yeah, great question. A couple pieces there. I think in the world of digital and in the world of automation, or for organizations that are really trying to leverage a platform versus a point of use solution, which again, there's reasons and needs for both, right? I'm not here saying, hey, the platform-based solution is the only way to build a business and a point of view solution is not. But I think those that are really leveraging a platform-driven vision really need to be mindful of the underlying technology. It has to be proven, it has to be scalable. And I know I'm using some buzzwords there, right? But I think more than anything right now in the age of technology, it's what can't technology do? And that runway can run out really quick if you have customers that are very idealistic and have big visions, right? You can start running up to what can it do pretty quickly. So it was on us to really measure the technology and really partner. We felt like with a software organization that could get us there, we did not necessarily think a quote unquote homegrown self-enabled platform was the right way to stabilize and build that foundation for our business. So we outsource the software itself and have great partners in that are enabling the platform to scale, the underlying software to continue to bring tools and different applications to life for us. And then the other side that I would say helps us be unique is we aren't just innovators trying to understand our customers and their problems. We actually lived their problems. So
Mhm.
most of the folks inside Surgence not only understand based on collaboration, but understand based on the pain individually that we felt. I mentioned COVID a few times. Even prior to that, like the supply chain disruptions we felt, we knew, we were very familiar with, and maybe more familiar with than we wanted to be in a lot
Yeah.
of scenarios. So what that enables us to do is you not only leverage an awesome technology and software partners and Palantir that we have today, but at the same time, our customers don't have to translate supply chain to us. We know supply chain. We can ideate, we can build solutions on the fly because of that. And we can translate those to our engineering team on behalf of our customers versus that kind of back and forth that happens a lot in the tech space and the digital world. So we really look to narrow that gap from business impact and business dialogue and back into the product and the engineering itself.
That's awesome. And so, looking ahead, what future trends or
Mm.
technological advancements do you foresee in healthcare supply chain management, and how is Surgeons positioning itself to lead this transformation?
Yeah, great question. And I get asked quite a bit, right? What's next? I'll bucket that into the same
Yeah.
breadth of question. I think I'll answer it simple first, and then maybe I'll give some idealistic big picture thoughts from myself, my own opinion. I think what we're seeing starting to trend already is the supply chain itself has been rooted in the lack of visibility so long that
Mhm.
visibility or having visibility somewhat to your own data, but also to your partners throughout the supply chain and their data, because it's a new venture for a lot of organizations. Visibility feels like the end, like it feels like the goal.
Mhm.
And our position, and again, knowing this is probably a bit ahead of where the supply chain's at, but our position is visibility is just the beginning. So once you have visibility to data, then the real questions start to be asked. What are you going to do with it? What decisions can you make now that you couldn't make before? Or what decisions and or structure of your supply chain would you make now? How do you hold inventory? How do you order product? How do you forecast? How do you communicate that to partners? Like all those questions come to life because now they're possible
Right.
versus when you don't have visibility. So why even ask those questions? They don't matter. So that's, I think, currently happening. That's my opinion. And that's really kind of where that's our playground, if you will. Customers are like, can you get me visibility to this? And we're like, yes. And we can
Yeah.
do this and this. So helping customers walk down those steps. When we think bigger picture, I think the healthcare supply chain is very much facing a critical time over the next several years. It has traditionally been a transactional space, and from a transactional space leads to a lot of negotiations around price and product only. And I think organizations are ultimately getting to the point where the price of the product is becoming, I don't want to say a commodity itself, but it's hitting the boundaries of what's possible as costs are going up, whether it's personnel, whether it's labor, whether it's supply chain itself. And it's forcing organizations to really think about how do we unlock efficiencies? How do we manage the supply chain better? How do we order better? How do we ship product better? And we've been in front of a lot of leading healthcare providers recently, and that's really where their mentality is going, right?
Yeah.
We have to continue to be more efficient, to be less price and cost conscious only, but also more collaborative. And how do we really make the supply chain run and operate in order to remove cost, but remove cost in a way that's not increasing risk.
Yeah.
So that's the physical nature of where I think the supply chain's at and how organizations are thinking, and throw everything else on top of it of, hey, what can we automate? How can you leverage AI? All those fun things. But I really like taking a practical look
Yeah.
at really what does that mean? Because again, AI and automation can always be a solution trying to find a problem, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully that gives a little context.
No, that totally makes sense. And Cody, it's been amazing learning about Surgence. It's been great learning about you. There's obviously an amazing product here. Where can people learn more about you? Where can people learn more about Surgence?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been a pleasure. Anyone can go on wearesurgence.com. There's a lot of information there, a lot of resources from customers and use cases. Personally, anybody can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well as the rest of the Surgence team. We are happy to talk. We're happy to collaborate. Do not have to be a customer. We're happy to talk strategy and talk about how to bring value or what does value really mean. So open to any and all conversations. Love to innovate. Love to hear what other organizations are doing. So really appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you so much for being on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chef.